Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Chopping It Up zone. You're at Chopping It Up with Jason and Sherman. This is the quarantine edition.
It is.
What's going on, Jay?
Yeah, no, it's good to see you, Sherm. I know we get to talk a little bit because we have a little more time than usual, but for me, just to see your face and be able to just sort of be the new norm right now, and that's something that I'm getting used to, and I know everyone else is. But it's just good to see you, and tell me how your family's doing.
Man, we're good. We're good. We are trapped in the house with a 3-year-old. So, some days we're the bear, and some days she's the bear. So,
Yes.
no, but it's fun. I get to spend sustained time. I've been home with her for almost 3 weeks now.
Right.
And that hasn't happened since she was born, because we went to Rio like a month after she was born. So I had to leave, but I've made up the time now. Yes,
Yeah,
I've made
no
up the
question.
time. What about you? You have 2 girls.
Yes,
3,
yes, I do.
including your wife, Tina.
Yes, no, the girls are doing great. I would caution everyone. I've been told when they become a teenager or a middle school kid that they become different. That's no different in my house. Things have been challenging at times, but I feel super fortunate, to be able to spend this extra amount of time with these all my girls, my wife included, and as well as just to kind of pick their brain on how they're going to be able to manage situations like this, and let them know, we're going to persevere through this, and so we're trying to use it as a teaching long moment, if you will.
Right. Yeah, we have to have a sit down with Harper about wearing our masks, because she doesn't always understand the why.
Right.
And it is not just cosmetic. It's not just because Daddy is putting on a funny mask because we're playing a game. No, we're putting on a mask to go out and, so to her, masks and things like that have always been associated with fun. And now we have to associate it with, even if we take a car ride and want to drive down to one of our national parks, we have a lot of regional parks and go for a walk. We've got to take our mask with us. So it's just a lot of small things, just like you said, that are part of the new normal, that have to be integrated into our family life.
Well, it brings up the point of how is this COVID-19, how has it really affected Taekwondo? It's affected it dramatically. Give me some of the things you think that's really, obviously, the new normal, but being in the house and not being able to train at the training center. But tell me, in your opinion, how has it affected Taekwondo here in the U.S.?
I think it has done a couple things. One, it has forced people to grasp a digital concept that a lot of people just never wanted to do. Some because they were uncomfortable. Some are purists who are like, nope, I trained under my grandmaster and I went to the dojang and the blood, sweat, and tears was in the mat, and that's how you matriculate through. And in 2020, in light of a global pandemic, you're going to have to jump on a Zoom call and you're going to have to matriculate through that way. So it's forced people to embrace a digital concept that I don't think is going away. It may not be the mainstay, but it's definitely going to be an integral part. And 2, I think for athletes and coaches, they are adapting. They are forced to change it up on the fly. I follow a lot of high-level athletes. I'm watching people like Jay Jones, who's sitting in the garage that she and Bianca converted into a dojang, and they're just like, man, they're rocking like I can't wait to get back to the normal. And this is what being a high-level athlete is. It is being malleable, being able to make those adaptive changes, when the situation requires it.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I've been super impressed with our membership's ability to figure this out on the fly. And what I mean by that is just watching through social media, watching members of USA Taekwondo, club members, clubs out there saying, hey, look, we're going to keep our classes. We're going to keep you guys focused. We're going to keep you engaged. We're going to keep you training. So I've been just uber impressed with our membership's ability to go out there and find a way. And that's what, just find a way to keep this going. So very impressed with them and excited and doing it myself some. And it's been it's different, but it's been fun, and I'm embracing it. And I definitely see the members, and like you talked about, elite athletes, not just here in the United States, but all over the world, you know, finding ways to get things done. And that's it.
Find a way to get it done. I mean,
Yeah,
isn't that what we used to
sure.
say in the coaching, from the coaching chair? Find a way to get it done.
Yeah, no question. You know? No question about it. I mean, look, Sherm, you and I both know that you have to make some change. You have to make some adjustments during in games all the time. And this is just an out of game adjustment that people are going to have to make that isn't going to be long term. Now, longer than probably we all hoped and expected, but you know, we're gonna get through this. Obviously, it's not a long-term fix, but I thought you brought up a really interesting point. This is going to change training because I think people are going to say, I can train with some of the best coaches all over the world digitally. So I thought you brought this. It might have just pushed the future a little bit more forward for people that weren't used to this type of training.
Right. Yeah. And again, it is there. I don't think that it is, we're going to shift and move entirely to a solely digital platform. But it is definitely expanding the reach of those who are ready to expand. Now, there's some people, you know, and I've heard from some older masters and grandmasters who surprisingly are gung-ho. And they're coming up with great ideas of ways to integrate and involve and engage. I'm looking at club owners and school owners and the homework they're giving out, and students are turning it in and getting merit badges and stripes on. And I just think this is fantastic because we have to stay current. You know, we're raising our children. They're not using abacuses and typewriters. Those are things that people used a long time ago. You know, I have a 3-year-old who can open a tablet and get to any app, take 1 million selfies, do all of those things almost instinctively. So as we continue to move forward, I'm just glad to see our sport and our organization, our membership. I don't hear a lot of people lamenting it. I don't hear a lot of people whining and complaining. I see a lot of people moving, making the best of a bad situation, man. And that's encouraging.
It is encouraging. And look, what else is encouraging is these chopping it ups with you and I that we're going to try to do often. And it's not just going to be you and I. We're going to have special guests. So we have a special guest for you coming up here shortly. So you guys are going to be excited because you don't just have to chop it up with Jason and Sherman. You can chop it up with others. So don't worry, we have one coming in shortly. But in the interim, Sherm, I'm going to ask you this. You know, the cancellation of major events has just changed the landscape of sport. So while we're waiting on a guest, I mean, touch on how do you think the World Taekwondo or USA Taekwondo or any organization handles the cancellation of maybe some of its most prestigious events, i.e. the Olympics and nationals, whatever it might be. You know, in this case, we don't know, but
I think that I'll speak nationally. I think, you know, we're right in state championship season,
right,
which is qualifying for nationals. And as an organization, I've talked to, you know, I remember talking to our CEO about it, and it's a hard decision to make. And you want to make it at the last possible moment because you know how disruptive it's going to be, both chronologically, but psychologically. I'm looking at states postponing and canceling, and it is disruptive, but we've got to look at the greater good. It's the best call to make. We can't have people risking themselves long-term because there are people who succumb to this virus, and our hearts go out to anybody who has been immediately impacted or affected by the loss of a loved one or a friend or family member. Man, that's real talk. So in perspective, Taekwondo has to drop down a level. You know, it's important to us, but it's not life or death. And so we've got to make those tough calls. Hey, man, there are people breaking into our sessions, sir.
She's broken in. And look who we have. We have our Paralympic athlete for the 2020/2021. It is Brianna Salinaro. So, Brianna, thanks for joining us here on Choppin It Up with Jason and Sherman. We appreciate it so much. So I'm going to jump right in because I know what we've talked about kind of going into 2020. You know, we have a major training plan. We've got these thoughts of where you're going to be training, what you're going to be training, and all of a sudden that gets shifted back a year. So first, talk about your process to this point and now what changes or adaptations that you got to make now in order to basically postpone this 1 year.
So I mean, there's a lot of changes to be made in the next year. Hopefully we can resume back to what we planned originally in a month or so. But if not, you know, it's a lot of home training. It's a lot of mental training. It's a lot more specifically focused on the things that I can do at home without certain gear or partners or anything like that. A lot of travel plans changed. A lot of competition changed. Things like that. So, yeah.
No, it's been huge. And we had talked a little bit before, but a lot of people haven't seen it. But, you know, they put out a statement, and the IOC put it out, and then USOPC puts out a statement and says that all the spots to this point that have been garnered by athletes in this case will say the same. And what I thought was interesting is when the Paralympic statement came out, they specifically talked about 3 athletes. They talked about a table tennis athlete. They talked about Evan Medell and Brianna Salinaro, who have already qualified their spots through the world ranking. So to see your guys' name on there, well, it was a relief. It really was.
It was, yeah.
So hard. But for me, it was exciting that they're recognizing you guys didn't just go out and qualify through a regional thing, which would be great. Don't get me wrong, but you did it through your work of 4 years of competition and point garnering. Just impressive. How just tell me kind of what you saw it too. How did you feel when you saw it?
I couldn't stop smiling after I saw it. It was a big relief. My shoulders kind of went down, and because that was a big concern, like
Right.
if we would have to re-qualify through the rankings again or through a regional thing in the following year. So just to know that like all my work is continuing to pay off is, you know, awesome.
Yeah, it's, you know, and we saw it, and you know that there's a feeling you get as a coach or a member of the staff when you see your athletes highlighted. And Coach Poos knows exactly what I'm talking about. It's not easy to describe, but we all see it in each other. And so when I see your names listed, I'm like, ooh, there go my Taekwondo guys. And then my chest swells. And then I'm like, yeah, my Taekwondo guys are listed. Guy and girl are listed for the Paralympic Games. But I want to go back a little bit, Bree. I want to go back. Take us back to when you recognized or realized that you were going to the Paralympic Games. Take us back to that moment when, because you made it through the ranking, but you needed some chips to fall the right way.
Right. So I think before the European Championship, there was about a 10-point difference between me and the Russian who was below me. So I really need the European Championship to fall my way. And luckily it did. I think going into the European Championship, for me to get to the final, I need to win like 2 or 3 matches. And unfortunately I didn't, but I knew that if the Russian were to lose before the semifinal or before the final, that I would guarantee my spot. And she actually wound up losing to an athlete that I did not expect her to lose to, I think right before the semifinal. So it was just one of the best moments of my life. I stood up and screamed as loud as I could. I celebrated with the world champion, or the former world champion, and her coach. They called me down to the mat area, and we were just like bawling our eyes out. And like I called everyone I could, my mom, Coach Poos, like my coaches at home. It was just beyond exciting. So
yeah. And those are the moments that make all of this worthwhile. I know you guys had to travel a lot in the last 4 years, and they weren't always vacation spots.
No,
I would talk to Coach Poos on these trips, and I could hear it in his voice, and I'd be like, just remember, it's not as bad as Turkey. Remember when we were in Turkey? And did he ever tell you, Bree, the story about how we almost got kidnapped in Turkey?
in the cab, right?
Yeah, so then
I've heard that story.
So then but I know you went through all of that. You went through all of that upheaval, and you had to leave your families, and you're traveling and all over the places. But that's what it's all for, that feeling that you get, that moment when you realize that the universe doesn't always give you what it should. Just because you do all the right things, it doesn't always go your way, but it did in this instance. And we are super glad, super proud, super excited for you. And I want to tell you this. We're going to extend our support for you one more year. See, we're not going to wait till 2021 to start loving you and supporting you. We're going to support you now and prolong it all the way through the 2021 Olympic Games. So you're stuck with us for another year. So just
I
give me
appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes, yeah, we're excited. We're excited. Obviously, this journey we thought wouldn't necessarily end this summer, but we thought it would culminate, and then from there, thinking in quads, how Sherman and I have done for basically 2 decades now. Everything goes in quads.
Right.
Other people, my wife, my other family doesn't understand that process, but elite athletes that are in amateur sports or Olympic sports do, and this is just a quad plus one, and that's what
Right.
we're okay with that, and I know you're okay with that, Bree, and
Definitely.
we're definitely gonna just again we're gonna adapt, we're gonna modify this training plan, and look forward, like we said, to major support for our Olympic athletes, but all our athletes, honestly, from our para program and our able-bodied program, and we're just again I just want to say congratulations again.
Thank you.
Not to be at that event, some surgery on my part kept me away.
Yeah.
But the phone call was all good. It was all good. Let me tell you guys. I mean, there's emotions that are just raw that are why we do this, and that's one of those. That day was one of those days, and we're gonna have another one of those days for sure. I think that kind of great emotion. I'm in Tokyo in a little over.
yeah.
So I look forward to
Yeah.
it. So, Brianna, one, I want to say thanks for taking some time today. I also want to say congratulations on being the first
Thank you.
female Paralympic Taekwondo athlete from the United States ever.
Thank you.
You have that distinction. And of course, I couldn't say this. I couldn't, I love working with you, and I wouldn't want to do it with anyone else, honestly.
Thank you. I mean, I wouldn't be where I am without you. So I really appreciate everything you've done.
It's been a blast, and it's not over yet. So, but thanks so much for chopping it up with Jason and Sherman, and our first ever Paralympic female athlete, Brianna Salinaro from the United States. Stay safe, because I know you're in Long Island, right? Is that where you are?
Yes.
That's a hot spot.
It's wild up there.
It is.
It's wild up there in New York, so stay safe. Put you a mask on, put you a hood on, put whatever you need on to stay safe. Yes, we need you primed and ready for the 2021 Olympic Games, Paralympic Games.
Brianna, thank you. We appreciate your time, and like I said, obviously I'll see you sooner than later, but
yes,
please stay safe, and give all your family and teammates our best.
I will. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hi.
She snuck it in.
Digitally, you got chopped.
He snuck it in. Sherm, I mean, you can see the positivity that just kind of exudes from Brianna, and you can see the level-headedness and everything that I see. You get to see it when we interview her, and just couldn't be she's a great athlete, but she's even a better person.
She's really a great person, and I've gotten a chance to interview her before, man. She's so effusive, and when you talk to her, you just get that feeling, and she's inspiring and encouraging. And she's had a harder than normal road, but she hasn't let that deter her, man. And that is the indomitable spirit. That's the tenet of Taekwondo that we often overlook for the pursuit of glory. But we forget that you've got to be able to dig your way through easy, rough, hard, medium, whatever it is, you've got to get through it. So shout out to her. Shout out to you. You did a good job with the para program over the last quad, man. It was a lot of work. And you kind of had to build it as you went along. But I think that you have gotten it to a place where the athletes are dialed in, and you are dialed in with them. And the administration is behind you. So we're in a better place than we were 4 years ago. So shout out to you for getting that work done.
It's been fun. Sherm, we're going to have tons of guests here. So we're going to have another elite guest coming in to Choppin' Up with Jason and Sherman. You brought up that point. I'm going to leave one last thing with Brianna. Brianna is the only athlete in her division, and one of the only, there's only a couple that have cerebral palsy. So it's already a Paralympic event, and she's dealing with, most athletes are dealing with some type of amputation, and she's not at the elbow or below, and she's dealing with cerebral palsy, and people don't understand, she's at a disadvantage before we even get started.
Right.
I mean, she really is. So to have her come out there with this, like you said, she just exudes positivity, exudes you know, the literally the tenets of Taekwondo, the perseverance, the indomitable spirit, all the things that go with Taekwondo. I mean, she just couldn't be more of an impressive athlete, and absolutely deserves her spot in the Paralympic Games.
Yeah, I would love to see somebody like Brianna win a gold medal at the Olympic Games, Paralympic Games.
Great.
Because every now and then you just like to see the good guys win, you know, and that's not to deride anybody else in the division. But she's the U.S. representative, so she's the only one I care about. I don't really care about the
Right.
athletes from other countries in that division. I just want Brianna to win, and everybody can have second. They can give out like 6 second-place medals. I don't care. I just want her to win the gold medal. So again, shout out to Bri for being a great person, being a great person, and being a good athlete, and somebody that our younger athletes can look up to.
Right.
Because we're constantly in pursuit of role models. We live a really charmed life. We get to play this game that we love and travel around the world. But at the very least, we ought to be dropping seeds to nourish and develop another generation behind us. So it's good to see a young person like that people can look up to. We have another guest, a special guest. Chicka, 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 chicka.
We do.
Triple OG, triple OG. Coming to us live and direct. Our own coaching director, all the way from across the pond, Paul Theophilus Green. What's up, sir?
How you doing, guys?
You didn't know your middle name was Theophilus, did you?
No, I did not.
What's up, man? How are you, man? How are you? How's your family? How's everybody over there?
Before we start, because I know it'll go to the end, I just want to do this. Hey! I know you expect that at the end. So I'll chop you up.
I receive your chop. So again, how are you, man? How's your family?
Yeah, good. Obviously, in these times, just doing some homeschooling with my 2 little girls. Having to keep them safe, and then sort of making sure that they get out for some exercise, and they're doing the exercise classes from like the Zoom stuff like everyone's doing in Taekwondo, doing the gymnastics and dance classes via that. So just trying to organise that and keep them safe and healthy.
Yeah, no, that's important. I'm sorry, Jay. That's important. No, I mean, Jason and I talk about this because we kind of check in on each other. You know, if nothing else, this reminds us of what's most important. You know, this sport that we love is very important, and we will sacrifice a lot for it. But it isn't more important than the health of my wife and daughter.
Right.
And, you know, I know you have 2 girls. Jay has 2 girls. What do we do to keep our family safe and then still make sure that, you know, they have some semblance of a normal life? So, man, we're glad to know that you're fine, that the girls are fine, that homeschooling is going well. Gymnastics on Zoom, that's got to be interesting.
Yeah, it's not good for my front living room, but it has to work.
They're tearing your house up. Wow.
Right,
no,
exactly.
It's not. Neither is dance. Dance hasn't been good on the living room floor, but you do what you got to do. And we're in the same boat, totally in the same boat. We have girls about the same age, so I totally get it. I want to transition a little bit, though, Paul. We want to know your thoughts. Just give us your thoughts on the Olympics now being postponed 1 year. I mean, something you've been through many Olympic Games as a gold medal winning coach, but this is something you've never been through. None of us have. So what's your thoughts on this postponement?
I believe it's the correct decision for the games to be postponed under this sort of climate that we're in and the circumstances. I don't believe the athletes are in a good position to train and maximize their own potential and peak for the games. So it wouldn't have been a sort of a good games if it went ahead in terms of quality, I don't think. But and also the safetyness of sending the whole world into sort of one place at the time, because we can't project how it will be in July, August time. So I think that's the right decision. And then I think the players that are sort of going to the games always have to. I mean, a player never goes into competition usually saying that they're completely ready. So I think they have to take this opportunity to maximize their potential, increase their, their individual goals that they're working on to get themselves better, and in better shape for 2021, which will come around quick.
Right.
No question about it. We'll come around quicker than people think, and I think that's something that is well said. I mean, we've watched a lot of different members of USA Taekwondo, elite athletes all over the world, posting videos of their at-home training. But let me ask you this: like, what advice can you give our membership? Because right now, they have to be able to stay engaged. They have to be able to stay involved, and clearly they have to be able to train. So what advice you have for our elite athletes that obviously we want them to continue to grow?
Yeah, well, first of all, I mean, I would, keep recommending to support the schools that you're working with, support the clubs, the coaches at the clubs, and by doing the online training that they're doing, continue to grow via that. And it is hard time because it depends on the motivation of people. But for me, you have to have a plan, a structure on your training, so you can be committed to that structure, you can be committed to that plan, and it doesn't come then down to the motivation each day. It comes down to your commitment to what you're going to do, which will, minimize that sort of effect when you get back into training, the lost form that you've had physically, technically, and tactically. And there's a lot of things you can do at home, even if it's by yourself and it's not via the online with your club instructors. You can set yourself and structure sessions with hip strength, like doing leg holds, maximize your stretching while you're in this period. You can set yourself repetitions and things that you're working on, or kicks that you want to develop or get better at, even if it's just a left leg or something like that, or your bad leg or your bad stance. And then there's lots of other things you can do on your own, like landing and kicking, like plyometrics. As long as you've got a little bit of space, you can do it anywhere. And then the visualization of strategies of people attacking you with certain techniques. You can visualize responses against it or the way you're going to attack them. You can do conditioning rounds and speed rounds as well. A lot of people think that you can't do much during the time, but you actually can. But you need the plan, you need the structure, and you need the commitment to it.
Yeah, Paul, you bring up a point that I think is probably overlooked. I think there are a lot of people focusing on motivation and enthusiasm, and that will wane. That's going to fade every day.
Right.
Nobody feels like doing it every single day.
Right.
But the important thing is, do I have a plan that even when I don't feel like doing it, I know what must be done today? And even if today is only 75% of what I normally should do, okay, I'll note that in my plan and take that into consideration and make sure I'm at 100% effort tomorrow. And my day off, I make a real day off. So I think it's important that you touched on the aspect of having a plan, that it is more than just how you feel, because your feeling is not enough to get you through. What if this lasts 2 more months? This was neat 2 weeks ago. This was all fun. We were going to have movie night and popcorn.
Right.
And now it's just like, what day of the week is it? I don't even remember the days of the week.
Yeah.
I just know, because nothing ever changes. We're always in the house, and your enthusiasm will fade. But if you have a plan, that's the thing that you anchor to and lock into, man. So I thank you for bringing it up. That's a very important part, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you've just highlighted the fact that after 2 weeks, the motivation will go.
Sure.
But if you do have that structure and you commit yourself to the structure, then it can be a long-term thing, what you want out of it, what you want to achieve out of it.
Yeah, it's a great point. It's something that there's a reason why we like to have you in front of our membership, because we see these major things that you bring to the table. I thought it was interesting you brought up visualization. Some people are in very tight quarters, and they just can't get out and do much right now. And so I think that's a great point, is to bring up, you can visualize a lot of things, and you can visualize, you talked about tactical and technical things. Definitely some tactical situations can be visualized. See yourself, getting yourself in and out of whatever this tactical situation is during a match. And it's something that elite athletes in every sport do at a high level. And I think our athletes need to kind of grasp that as well. So I think that's a great point you bring up to visualize some things too. Visualization is a big part of this, and really can help.
Yeah, I mean, you can visualize different strategies within the game. You know, people coming at you and attacking you, and you attacking people and then responding in a certain way, or you developing a technique and learning how to do the technique and visualizing it. You can do all that, and you know, you've got video feedback. Most people can video themselves doing it and give themselves some feedback, or even send it to their coaches to ask for the feedback on the techniques. There's a lot of things you can do, even though you know there's home training going on.
Yeah, and the amount of the sheer volume of footage that's out there. There's footage on every high-level player in the divisions, and so they can study and study and study. It's almost like it's almost like when we were injured back in the day, and we couldn't train at 100%. So our coach would be like, "Yeah, you're injured, so don't come to practice, but that doesn't mean you're off." So that's when you have your headphones on and you're walking through it and working through the stuff that you're going to do when you get back on the mat. And that I kind of want to segue into, what do you think happens after this quarantine period? What do you think the Taekwondo landscape is going to look like when the restrictions are no longer in place?
Firstly, we have to wait to see what the WT do with the schedule of the competitions. And obviously the games and how it's moved and what impact that has on everybody and the players. And then we have to make a plan leading towards that, a phased plan, going into like a general preparation to get our strength back up, to get the techniques going before we go into a competition phase. So we don't, we're minimizing injury risk. But I mean, there's a lot of stuff you can do that at home at the moment with the strength work, and it can minimize that problem and effect it has when you do get back into training. But I see a lot of people around the world getting, motivated to get back into it. And they just have to make sure that it's not a rushed process, because that's when injuries do occur. You've gone from zero training or little training to full training, and, a lot of motivation at that point. So you have to keep the underpinning strength work going, just so you don't get, just so you don't get injured really. And then it sets you back even further. You have to gradually get back into the training, underpin it with the strength work before you go at it, full on.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's great. Well, Paul, no, we can't thank you enough for taking some time out of your. We don't know how busy your schedule is, but because none of ours.
I'm studying at the moment. I'm doing sports science degree. That's what I'm doing.
I like it. So we appreciate your time today. This, of course, we want to sign off like we always do, but we want to remind all of you that first, we have a YouTube channel. You got to sign up. You got to be on our YouTube channel, and we're going to
subscribe.
Please subscribe, as well as the fact that we have more Chopping It Up sessions coming to you, the quarantine home edition Chopping It Up, with more special guests. But we wanted to start it off with having our coaching director, Paul Green. So, Paul, thank you for spending so much time with us today.
Yeah, thanks.
We do appreciate it. And we look forward to talking to you in the future, maybe in person sooner than later, we hope.
Yes,
but it is.
I hope so.
With Paul Green. This is you've been chopping it up with Paul Green, Jason, Sherman. Give him one more, Paul. Give him one more chop. I like that.
Hi.
Yeah.
You see that? You see that?
He thinks he blocked it.
Yeah. It's too late. Your timing was off. You need to do some more visualization.
Yes.
I need to go get my headphones and get back into the zone. I need a plan first. I need a plan.
You did.
The timing was way off.